Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense Podcast. Week 6 of the NFL has just concluded, and it was in a very interesting week. A lot of close games this week, some great storylines, and also a lot of mid games this week. So, very up and down week, but we love football. We got to talk about it all. So, starting with Monday Night Football, coming fresh off the Bills Jets game, where we saw four missed field goals. Yes, technically three missed field goals and an extra point. Absolute crazy game. Nobody could make anything with the wind there. Definitely an interesting game to say the least. I think a huge one for the Bills, especially after losing the last two games. Jets, on the other hand, they really needed this. You know, a lot of times with the interim head coach first comes in, they have kind of a hot streak. This was not the case this time, which sucks for them. Aaron Rodgers still not looking completely like himself. The only time we really saw him play like himself was against Patriots. Josh Allen did Josh Allen things tonight. Obviously, Buffalo was without James Cook, and you could tell just by the way they were playing. Ray Davis, he had a good game, 20 carries for 97 yards, but definitely James Cook is somebody that is a huge guy for them, and to not have him tonight, I think hurt the Bills for sure. Jets, on the other hand, like I said, that Aaron Rodgers pick at the end of the game was huge. I mean, that really kind of sealed the deal for the Jets. Mike Williams slips. I don't even think it's a bad throw. I think it's more of a Mike Williams slip, and then Bills making a really, really good play. He was really just kind of made a play out of nowhere, completely turned his hips, comes from across the field. I think like that's just a really good pick play for the Bills, and one they deserved and earned. I'll be curious how the Bills continue to play on for the rest of the season. The thing that they really need to work on is when they get on the other opposite side of the field, they just got to convert. And I think this is something that I've noticed in a lot of teams this year is they're just not converting into touchdowns. There's been so many field goals this season, and in a game like tonight where it's windy and we're starting to get into the bad weather season, it's not going to always be an automatic field goal like it has been early on in the season. So I'll be curious to see how that affects teams. You really got to punch it in. Sometimes you got to take those big risks like Aaron did at the end of the game. Took some pretty bad sacks as well tonight, which was interesting for Aaron. Aaron usually gets the ball out quick, so for him to take those big sacks and get out of position was unlike Aaron. Then we go to last night, the Bengals versus Giants, a very Mediterranean game. Also for Monday Night Football, I also rate that Mediterranean. Bengals offense just could not get anything going. Joe Burrow's 47-yard rushing touchdown was about the only really exciting play in this game, to be honest. And it kind of sucks because this offense has been looking really solid all year long, and it's been their defense that has hurt them. And it was quite the opposite. Their defense actually showed up to play. Granted, they were playing a Giants offense, but the Giants are tougher than I thought they would be on both sides of the ball, especially that D line. That D line has been extremely tough, and they've been extremely tough to get anything going. They held them to 16 carries and about 60 rushing yards, which is a really good performance by that D line. And they're able to get the quarterback four times for a sack and a whole lot of pressure. So you gotta just, give the Giants props that, Burns and Dexter Lawrence, like they are getting a quarterback. And this is without Kayvon Thibodeau. So it's huge that the Giants are doing the things they're doing with their defense. I'm really impressed by how tough this team is because I think we really wrote them off extremely early. I don't think this is a playoff team by any means, but they're scrappy, they're tough. They remind me of, a Cardinals or one of those teams from last year, maybe even a Colts, reminiscent, maybe not as high of a caliber in terms of playoff team, but definitely a tough team by the Giants. And huge game for Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, he only had 50 yards on the ground, but we really saw him, in the air, 6 receptions for 57 yards. He had a good game, and I think That's promising for the Giants, especially because you have Devin Singletary out, you have Neighbors out. So to see some sort of bright spot, obviously the Giants still lost this one. They're still 2-4. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, like I said, but at least there's some positives with what's going on. I think Daniel Jones continues to be very average. I don't think he's bad, but I think he's very average. And if the Giants want to take that next step in being a team, they need to move on from average. And then going back to the Bengals, they need to figure out a full, complete game performance. It can't be every game who's going to show up, the offense or the defense. Obviously, it feels like when the defense shows up, this team is able to win. But the fact that the Bengals are sitting at 2-4 right now and looking like it might be a stretch to make the playoffs, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough for them. And I don't know. I don't know if I can see a world where the Bengals really come back from this. It's gonna be a tough. They have a tough schedule, and they're in a tough division. So it's gonna be tough for them. Luckily, they have the Browns next week, but then you face a team like the Eagles, Ravens in the next couple weeks, so it's gonna get tough for them. They just better hope that they get hot and hot soon because they got to get the whole team together if they want any chance at making playoffs. Going to our next game, Falcons Panthers. This one was a Mediterranean just because of I'm on the brink of grab your popcorn. The Panthers really fought in this one. I know that's crazy to say with about 10 minutes left. Andy Dalton throws a pick that kind of seals the game. Throws it to AJ Terrell. The Falcons go down and they score again. So that kind of sealed the game for it. But this was a back and forth game. The Falcons really had to fight. You could tell they were in control. You could tell they were the better team. But the Panthers put on a show. They looked good with Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton proves that he can be a starter for a team and make them competitive. Especially Kirk Cousins had a great game. But really, the story of this was that the Falcons were able to find their rushing game again. Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, both almost for 100 yards, one for 2 touchdowns, one for a touchdown. That's huge. When you find your running identity, yes, it's against the Panthers. Doesn't matter. Sometimes all it takes is finding that identity in a game, no matter who the opponent is. So I'll be curious to see if the Falcons can do that because if they can make this double-edged sword of being able to rush and pass, it's going to be troublesome for the Falcons. This was the first time it felt like the Falcons were in control in a game, which is really good to see because the Falcons really haven't been in control in past games. They've been trailing, kind of come out. They've been lucky in a lot of their wins, and I think they're happy with their 4-2 because there's a lot of wins that they shouldn't have right now that they do. Good overall performance, a great divisional win for the Falcons. Panthers, on the other hand, I don't really know what you want me to say. I mean, Chuba Hubbard continues to look like a solid back, 92 yards for him. But overall, I mean, they fought, but Andy Dalton's crucial turnovers just kind of put it out of the way for the Panthers to win this one. Go get that number 1 pick, I guess. Going to our next game, we have the Lions versus Cowboys. Wow, was this a shit show? For the Lions, you might be, and I don't know if this is a bold take. The Lions might be the funnest team to watch in football right now. Their offense is extremely fun. They bring the trick plays, they bring the 4th down conversions. They're a fun offense to watch. They have one of the best two-headed monsters in the backfield with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You have a bulldozer and a speed, flexible back with Jahmyr Gibbs. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're starting to see Jameson Williams come out. Tim Patrick had a coming out game. Jared Goff is back to his efficient self. This Lions team in the last 3 weeks has looked extremely solid and a team that kind of scares me if I'm other teams watching. The Lions are looking extremely good. The defense is getting better, holding this Cowboys team to 9 points. Obviously, the Cowboys, which I'll get to in a second, weren't able to convert a lot of their points. They made some stupid turnovers. They made some stupid decision. But overall, this Lions team, I'm impressed. I'm very happy with where I'm at. Obviously, the Aiden Hutchinson injury is going to hurt. Aiden Hutchinson was, in my opinion, looking like a path to be a defensive player of the year in the NFC. So it really sucks to see him go down. However, I do think this Lions defense is still gonna be solid. I think they're still gonna be okay. I think it's gonna hurt them, don't get me wrong. I think they'll need somebody to step up, and we're gonna see if James Houston kind of fills that role. We saw potential with him. Maybe that potential comes back. I'm really excited about this Lions team. I know it's against a Cowboys team, but this is a really good win and a very solid statement win for the Lions. Cowboys, on the other hand, I mean, there were some really bad decisions in this game. I know what you're thinking. Like, what do you mean there were some bad decisions? 20-3, the game's in reach, and you go for it on your own 38 with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. I don't understand this call. You put them immediately in field goal position. If they get a stop, they gain momentum. I understand that you're down and it feels like desperation time because there's about 2 minutes left in the half, but it doesn't make sense. Why make that call that soon? I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a reach. And I think it's ultimately what is going to be the deciding factor in why Mike McCarthy is probably going to get fired by the end of the year is because of decisions like that. When you start making desperation decisions, that's when your team starts to struggle, momentum starts to switch. They go up and make a touchdown on that play. And I genuinely think this game could have looked a lot different if they had just punted. You now go from 20-3 at half, potentially, to 27-6. That's a huge momentum swing. And I think it really cost the Cowboys in this one. The Cowboys got to figure out a way to convert in red zone. First, they throw an interception. Then it felt like they just settled for a lot of field goals. It's painful to watch how many times the Cowboys will have a good drive going and have to settle for a field goal. Thank God they have Brandon Aubrey, or they wouldn't have any points to account for. But the Cowboys got to figure something out. The turnovers killed them in this game. The momentum killed them in this game. The Cowboys, unfortunately, just are not looking like anything like their last year's self. Their defense isn't holding teams at all. This defense has looked porous from the beginning, and they got to figure something out on defense. The defensive coordinator is looking awful. It's bad in Dallas right now. Going to our next game, we have the Steelers versus Raiders. This game was about what I expected. The Steelers needed to stomp on a team, and they finally did it. This TJ Watt was all over Aiden O'Connell, which I expected. Young quarterback, doesn't get the ball out quickly. It's interesting to me how many people are on the Russell Wilson should start train. The Steelers are 4-2, and I genuinely think a lot of that credit deserves to be to Justin Fields. He has managed every single game extremely well. And yes, while he didn't look the greatest as a passer, he had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 57 yards on top of a Najee Harris performance where he went for 100 yards. If I'm the Steelers, I'm extremely happy with that. A 32-13 win. Credit to your defense, don't get me wrong, but also credit your offense. They got some points on the board as well. 3 touchdowns, as a matter of fact. I'd be extremely happy. There's nothing to complain about here. And if I'm being honest, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I love that saying. I think it's exactly this case in Pittsburgh right now. Justin Fields is playing extremely well with this team. He's managing this team. He has the confidence. There is no reason to shake up this offense if they're not winning. They're doing that. There's no reason to bring in a new leader. Yes, Russell Wilson is talented. You're only paying him $1 million. You're getting a steal for him. There's no reason to shake up this team right now. I disagree if you think that Justin Fields should not be starting on this team because of the way he has been able to get them to 4-2 right now. I think he has done a hell of a lot better than Kenny Pickett did, which isn't saying much, but take what you can, and wins are wins. The Raiders, on the other hand, this team is lost. This team is out of control. Max Crosby is now pissed. You've got Devontae Adams looking for a trade. Jacoby Myers was down. You don't know who to start at quarterback. I don't even think Gardner was playing like that awful. So now you put in Aiden O'Connell. He starts to struggle. this team is out of sorts. Antonio Pierce, you've lost your locker room. That's the only bad part with locker room coaches is it feels like it's more of an emotional respect instead of a true respect. And I think that's how you can lose your locker room. And he's lost his locker room. Unfortunately, I think that does mean Antonio Pierce's time is probably going to come to an end soon because he has locked his locker room, and a coach like that, he can't. That's how he gets his players is through that respect. Going to our next game, we've got the Broncos versus Chargers. Very interesting game. The Broncos tried to come back late, but it was way too late for them to come back. The Chargers came on early. It was disappointing to see Bo Nix throw an interception on his first pass attempt. Chargers take advantage of it right away. Chargers had a great first half. They really got to work on finishing out games. It's something I've noticed about them is they kind of let teams always creep in back in, and it's cost them in games they've lost. And it didn't cost them in this one, but overall, I think they need to work on that. I was glad to see the Chargers pass the ball a little bit more. Herbert obviously is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and so to use him and utilize him in that way was good to see. Obviously, not as a Broncos fan, it wasn't good to see. Pat Surtain went down, and I think it did affect our team big time. He has been shutting down every single receiver that he has been able to use, and obviously we have been sending a lot more guys because of that. We trust our secondary with Pat Surtain being on the number one guy and the rest of our secondary. So other guys had to fill in that role. And I think we didn't really show up until the second half. I'll be curious to see how this defense responds if Pat Surtain has to miss more than 1 week. But definitely a lesson for the Broncos. It sucks. We were affected by that injury big time. J.K. Dobbins continues to be a workhorse for this team, even with Gus Edwards out. 25 carries for him in this game, 96 yards at a touchdown, absolute monster game for him. Broncos gotta stop that. But overall, the Broncos, like I said, they didn't really get anything clicking until the second half. We got to work on the turnovers. The fumble and the pick both cost us big time. And when you give up two turnovers and you can't get any back, that's just it's really hard to win in a game like that. Like I said, little, too late is really the case here. I think a question that a lot of people are thinking is Bo Nix that guy? He's gone through some struggles for sure. I think there are some decision making issues that he needs to make, but I see the potential. I love the scrambling ability he has. There's plenty of plays in this game in particular where he stretched plays that probably most quarterbacks can't stretch. He got out of sacks that a lot of quarterbacks can't get out of. So those types of plays to me are, that's shit you can't teach. And I'm excited that Bo Nix has that ability. I'm excited to refine the rest of his talents as well, because that second half, he looked in groove. When he's getting the ball out quick and he's getting it to his receivers, letting plays develop. That was fun to watch, and I'm hoping he can get back to that more consistently because I think the mental errors, mental lapses that he has, just can be painful as a fan to watch sometimes. Going to the Commanders versus Ravens. This is one of my favorite games to watch on the week. Definitely a grab your popcorn. Um, I enjoyed this game a lot. I've got to give it to the Ravens. They have figured out their offense. This is a scary offense now. They exposed a weakness on the Commanders, and that is their secondary. Lamar Jackson has really, really improved his passing ability. He looked really good passing the ball in this game, and he looked really good running the ball. Um, they looked in control this entire game. They did not back down to a Commanders team that is very tough. They really turned on the gas pedal when they needed to. In that second half, they were able to really turn on the Jets, not look back. And, you know, there was a crucial end of the game drive where, the Commanders could have made a stop and had a shot at tying the game up and sending it to overtime again. And they give it Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry delivered once again. So this Ravens team is starting to figure it out. As much as that terrible start to the season that they had with the 0-2, much as that was bad, it also was kinda good. I think it taught them about adversity with this team, and it could strengthen them. In years past, I have really critiqued this team, and as I've mentioned in the past, I think it's because I know what they're capable of with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and I think finally seeing this team click in the last 2 games has been extremely fun to watch, and I'm going to continue to watch this team because it's fun to watch. I mean, you're getting Zay Flowers out in the open quickly. You're allowing, Lamar to make Lamar throws, Lamar to get on his feet, Derrick Henry to get some action. Just an absolute bonkers game. And on the other hand, Commanders, yes, there's some secondary issues they need to address. Offensively, though, he still looked really good. I'd still be really happy. Jaden Daniels, I think, looked really still impressive, making decisions against a defense that is still pretty high up there. And I think to see him make those game time decisions, he's impressed the hell out of me. He's getting the balls. I mean, he's just making really good throws. There's that goal line play with Terry McLaurin where they need a touchdown on 4th down, converts it to Terry McLaurin, puts it right only where Terry McLaurin can catch it. Those are the throws that you're excited about if you're a Commanders fan. This Jaden Daniels is a real deal. I'm super excited about him. He's fun to watch. I give him all the props in the world. Eagles versus Browns, very, very Mediterranean game. This was kind of atrocious to watch, almost brinking on a shit show right here. The Eagles should have blown this team out of the water. They have a way better offense. They have a way better defense. They are better than the Browns in just about every area you can think of. They fell flat in this game. They were in control, sure. But Deshaun Watson looked like shit. The Browns couldn't get anything going on offense. The only thing they could do was run the ball a little bit. But overall, the Eagles defense shut this team down. The only reason why the Browns had as many points as they did was because of a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. They had no business being in this game, and the Eagles just let them kind of linger around. That's not how you win games. This Eagles team has concerned me ever since last year. I didn't mind Nick Sirianni for a long time, but I think he's lost his locker room. I think he's put too much trust and faith into that team in the locker room, and he needs to take control or this team is just out of control. And right now it's out of control. Barely winning to a Browns team like that is not a good look. Yes, did they get the win? Yes, a win is a win, like I said earlier. However, Jalen Hurts needs to step up. This offense needs to step up. You had all your guys back. You had AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. You're looking into a monster game and nothing happened. So they better bring it next week, or this momentum might be too awful for them to recover. Because they got to kick into gear soon. The Browns, on the other hand, yes, it's time to hit panic button if you weren't already. Deshaun Watson looks awful. He can't throw a ball to anyone. He's throwing balls over people's heads. He's throwing balls at people's feet. He can't get the ball off. He's a mental head case right now, and it shows on the field. It's it's bad. It's really bad if you're a Cleveland fan. Going to the Bucks versus Saints. You know, this was a tale of two halves. Mediterranean game, but tale of two halves. First half, the Bucks come out hot. They come out early, go up 17-0. Second quarter, Spencer Rattler shows up. I'm starting to think, wow, this Spencer Rattler kid's actually impressing me. This is not the Spencer Rattler I thought he was going to be. I've seen Spencer Rattler struggle. He's very inconsistent quarterback in my opinion. He kind of turned it on and in the second quarter, and I was like, wow, this kid might do something with this team. Then second half, this Bucks defense came to play. They were causing turnovers on the kid. I think 2 interceptions in the second half. They just looked dominant in the second half. The Bucks offense looked dominant in the second half. The Bucks just came to play. They took care of business. I think the Bucks are one of the most underrated teams in the league right now. I think they can compete with anyone, and that's something that not a lot of teams can say. Um, you know, there are a few. I would say there are probably about they're a solid playoff team, and I think, they could be a dark horse in the playoffs even because they are just a really tough, gritty team, and they don't have a ton of weaknesses. I think their biggest weakness might be their secondary, but their secondary showed up this game. They dealt with their injuries. Their injuries are hopefully over for them, and they were able to take care of business in a division game. And the Saints, I know you're out from Derek Carr, but I'd be very disappointed if I'm the Saints. This offense looked incredible the first 2 games. You've lost 4 straight now. It's time to hit panic button. Our next game, Texans versus Pats. Not a whole lot to say here. This is about what I expected. We finally saw the Texans put up some points on offense, about most points that we've seen them put up all year, and it was refreshing to see. Joe Mixon back in the lineup was also refreshing to see. This Texans rushing game has struggled without it, and I think putting Joe Mixon back in and seeing how this offense was back into its groove kind of proves what this Texans offense is capable of and the effects of not Joe Mixon not being in the game are. I'm excited about it, especially because Nico Collins was out. When Nico Collins is in, this team is even better. So it's a good sign for the Texans. Patriots are better on defense than you would give them probably credit for. So this is a good win. Took care of business. Other side of it, Drake May, there are some really big glimmers of hope. I was not high on Drake May in my prospect rating, if I'm being honest. I think there was a lot of potential, but a lot of mistakes as well. And I think we saw that. His deep throws, the way he's able to throw the deep ball, it's good. That's what people loved about him coming into the draft class is his deep ball accuracy. It's one of the best in this rookie class, and we saw it a few plays here. He made some bad decisions too. He had 2 turnovers in this game, so I think something to improve on, but as we've seen with a lot of rookies this year, there's a lot to improve on, and, the more experience he gets, we'll see. Do I think it was the best decision putting him in? I don't know. I I I can see both sides of it, but I just hope that they aren't judging him on a win now scale because I don't think he's gonna win. He's not gonna win this year, and I hope he doesn't let it affect his confidence for this season because there's no reason to. This isn't a winning team. Going to our next game, we've got Colts versus Titans. Very Mediterranean game. Joe Flacco got it done. Shout out to Joe Flacco. He's him. He finds ways to win. And, I thought that, possibly Joe Flacco could get this offense going early in the game, finds Josh Downs, has a great drive. And we just didn't really see much action on either side of the ball. The Titans had glimmers of offense, but overall we saw the same old Will Levis. 95 yards of passing is just not going to get it done. Pollard shined, but that's about the only hope. The conservative offense that the Titans are playing is just not getting it done, and you can't play risky offense because Will Levis just is not capable of that. You got to move on from Will Levis. You just got to hope at this point that you can find a QB in next year's draft class or even free agency to help you out. Packers versus Cards. I'll go I'll go Mediterranean game. I haven't seen I think I've only put one grab your popcorn maybe, but Mediterranean game again. I didn't enjoy this one. It was really just a beating by the Packers. Romeo Dubs came out to play. Jordan Love was out there. He was throwing it. He had a great day. I know that there was one pick. It wasn't even his fault. His receiver slipped. So great day for Jordan Love and the Packers. I'm happy if I'm the Packers. Took care of business. This Cardinals team is extremely tough, and they've been playing teams tough all year. So great win for the Packers. Marvin Harrison Jr. going down. This team was affected by it for the Cardinals. I'm a little worried. I you know I think you should get Kyler some more weapons. Maybe don't let Hollywood Brown walk. Crazy idea. But yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., him going down, that was not good with a concussion. So we'll see how the Cardinals respond. I don't expect the Cardinals to win a ton of games this year. Like I said, I think they'll be scrappy, but overall, yeah, Cardinals are just not that team right now. Caleb Williams. Welcome to the league, my friend. Holy cow, what a day for him. 4 touchdowns in London, with London being the Jacksonville Jaguars' hometown. I expected the Jags to kind of pull off some heroics. I don't believe in this Jags team whatsoever, but being in London, they've been there so many times. I just thought in my head there's no way they're losing. Bears came to play, man. This team is clicking all of a sudden, and it's fun to see Caleb Williams kind of show his potential after a lot of people doubted him, a lot of bust call outs. He's not looking like a bust, and those are looking very quiet now. The Bears are looking really good. I think the Bears are an underrated team. I think they could sneak into the playoffs. Like I said, NFC North is the best division. It's straight up now. All teams, I think, could make the playoffs, which is absolutely nuts. So, NFC North, unless they cannibalize themselves with, which could be the case, expect all of them to be in the playoffs. The Jags, on the other hand, Doug Peterson should be fired this week. They're 1-5 now. I don't. I. They're 2-10 in their last 12 games. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does. Trevor Lawrence actually made some really good throws in this game. They were dropped. Doug Peterson has this team is awful. It's bad, and it wasn't bad for a long time. So I don't know what twisted. I don't know what happened. Doug Peterson needed to go going bye bye. And our last game for this week is the 49ers versus Seahawks. You know, again, I hate to say it. The last game, by the way, was a shit show. I'm gonna go Mediterranean again. I think there was only one grab your popcorn this week, but while there were a lot of close games, there wasn't a lot of like, wow, that was a really good game. The 49ers were in control of this one. We saw glimpses of them old self, but they still don't feel the same. I don't know how to explain it. And I think it's genuinely because of Christian McCaffrey. He needs to come back. But this offense just doesn't feel the same. Jordan Mason goes out for a few plays, comes back. So this team is while they won this one and they in a must needed one, it still doesn't necessarily feel like they're back. So we'll see how the 49ers come back next week because they have choked a lot of games. They're finally able to close out one, which is huge for them. The Seahawks, on the other hand, I'd be a little worried. You've lost 3 straight now, and honestly, I'm a little worried, especially because I know their schedule just continues to be tough for the Seahawks. Their defense isn't really being able to stop teams. Their running game has kind of disappeared with so much of their identity on offense being their run game. They need to figure out a different solution. I don't know what that is for the Seahawks. Maybe it's, getting them running backs more involved in the passing game. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are both capable of being a passing back. Maybe it's getting them involved in screenplays. Maybe it's getting them involved just in the passing game in general to open up the backfield. But they need to figure something out to get them unleashed again because I do think so much of their offense relies on that. And while I think Geno Smith is a proven quarterback now, I don't think you can rely on him to be your sole production of offense. It hasn't worked the last 3 games, and teams have really figured out that if you stop the run with the Seahawks, this team doesn't have any legs to stand on. So I will be curious to see how the Seahawks do going forward and figuring out what their identity as an offense is. My week 6 MVP, I think I'm going to give it to Jared Goff. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 18 for 25. He's been going off. He's been efficient. He's what the Jared Goff I expected, and I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited for this Lions team. They've been playing good, and while I should be giving them the Week 6 team MVP as well, I am going to as well. They absolutely ignited this Cowboys team. This Cowboys team is not a bad team, and they made them look silly. They made everyone question if Mike McCarthy should be at the helm, derailing a team like that so bad that you make them question if their coach should still be there. Pretty bad. And that is why my hottest seat is Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, you made some really bad decisions in this game and some really momentum swinging decisions in this game. And I think that really cost your team. The play calling isn't the greatest. You can't get anything going in the run game, and your defense looks awful. It's time that some changes are made. I don't think they're going to be made. And I think it's time for you to go. You're on the hottest seat. All right. Going to rapid fire picks. We have Thursday night football, Broncos versus Saints. The Saints have not been playing well. Spencer Rattler did not play well last week in the second half. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. Yes, there's some bias to that. However, I think the Broncos have a better team that is playing right now. It's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be very close, and I can see this going in either way. Give me the Broncos. Next game, starting out in London, Jags versus Patriots. Give me the Jags. They've been there for 2 weeks now. Give me the Jags. Seahawks versus Falcons. Give me the Falcons. I think it'll be a close one, but give me the Falcons. Titans versus Bills. Give me the Bills. Browns, Bengals. Give me the Bengals in a must-win game. Texans versus Packers. Very interesting game. I'm going to go with the Packers. I think the Packers could upset the Texans. Texans can look shaky at times, so give me the Packers. Colts versus Dolphins. Give me the Colts. Lions versus Vikings. Give me the Vikings. Ooh, actually, give me the. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. Game of the week right there. I don't know why that's at 10 a.m. I don't know. The Lions have been looking really good. Give me the Lions. Give me the Lions. Eagles versus Giants. Give me the Eagles. Raiders versus Rams. Give me the Rams. Panthers versus Commanders. Give me the Commies. Chiefs versus 49ers. What a game at 120. A lot of good games, and I don't know why we have these terrible primetime games. Give me the Chiefs. They've looked proven. Jets versus the Steelers. Jets have looked so bad. Give me the Steelers. Ravens, Bucks. Ravens have looked unstoppable. Give me the Ravens. Cards versus Chargers. Give me the Chargers. And those are my rapid fire picks. If you listen this far, I appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow on the socials, posting pretty much daily content. I appreciate you. As always, stay logical and rant that nonsense.